Today we are going to be fixing a Blackstar HT Club 40 amplifier. Apparently smoke came out of it. So yeah, let's get into this little bad boy and see if we can figure out what the problem is. So just use a long screwdriver to poke through the holder on the back, and that will dislodge the valve like that. Now once all the valves are out, and we can put this on the table, there we go, now we can start work. We've got to remove all of these knobs on the front, then we need to remove all of these nuts here from the front of the knobs. We've got to pull all of that lot out so that we can ultimately gain access to this PCB. Why, you might ask? Let's have a look at this capacitor here. This electrolytic capacitor has pooed the bed. It is thoroughly dead. We'll get into a bit more detail on that in just a second. Next part of the mission is to use a spanner to loosen up the nuts on all of these potentiometers, all of these controls on the front of the unit, so that we can lift that PCB out. Right then folks, let's take a look and see why this unit failed. So immediately went on visual inspection of the PCB here. We can see that this particular capacitor, which is a 22 microfarad 450 volt electrolytic capacitor, the top is bulging on this capacitor, and you can see here some evidence of nasty burn marks, and also some evidence of some burn marks down here. Let me see if I can zoom you in a little. So as you can see then here, then there's some burn marks here and here, and the electrolytic is bulging out of its little socket. So the inside on an electrolytic capacitor, there is sheets of aluminium and sheets of dielectric material that separates the aluminium and eventually that dielectric material sort of like just gives up the ghost. It dries out, gives up the ghost, and that's what's happened in the case of this particular unit here. And so my mate Andy said that all of a sudden he just got a load of smoke out of it. Thankfully he wasn't on stage performing with it. Now the challenge that we have is, if you look here, you can see that this all of these units are glued in. So I'm sort of hoping that if I cut around the plastic surround on this capacitor here, then we should be able to unsolder the capacitor and pull it off of the PCB without breaking or without damaging the PCB itself. Because if you look at a double-sided PCB, we've got tracks on the top and the bottom of the PCB. So my plan is then just to cut around the outside of this plastic sheath on the capacitor, unsolder the bottom of the capacitor, and hopefully that capacitor should then pull off, and then we can try and clean up the existing location for that capacitor. So while we're here, we might as well just have a quick look around the PCB. Yay! That's a lovely big heatsink. We've got a few MOSFETs on here. We've got some diodes on here. This is basically a switch mode type power supply. We've got some fuses in here as well, obviously. Some wire wound resistors. These big plastic mountings here are for the valves. Those are for the power amplifier valves. These are for the pre-amplifier valves. We've got an effects processing unit over here. We've got lots of lovely quality components in here. Little surface mount operational amplifiers for adjusting tones and various other facilities that you would normally have on a guitar amplifier. But yeah, really nice construction. And because these things get thrown around, anything that's got sort of a bit of heft to it, like these capacitors, they're all glued in place, which makes them an absolute pain in the ass to replace. And now we have an absolute plethora of screws to remove. Even the screws have got a little bit of locking nail varnish on them, so that they don't rattle loose when this is being shipped across the world to various stages to perform. And there it is. Finally, we've now got access to both sides of this PCB. All right, let's see if we can get that damaged capacitor replaced. Actually, I'm just going to remind myself where these capacitors are and which side is the negative terminal. So these capacitors are ganged, the negative side of them are ganged. We can see that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little fresh solder on these terminals on the underside of the PCB here, and then I'm going to use one of these, which is a solder sucker, to try and remove as much solder as I possibly can in order to free up the legs. They're quite thick legs on these capacitors. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is going to do the trick. We might actually have to end up cutting this capacitor out. Let's try and do this delicately and keep our fingers crossed. It looks like good news, certainly for this guy. Yeah, legs loose on that, and I've managed to break the glue joint reasonably easy just by wiggling the capacitor. So fingers crossed the other one comes out as easily. Come on, there we go. There we go, nearly there. Come on, oh, happy days. There it is. Oh, what's it stuck to? Oh, it's stuck to the PCB. Anyway, there it is. Yeah, and we've left half of the capacitor on the PCB by the looks of things. Right, let's see if we can get the other capacitor out. Happy days. Yes, oh, in fact, actually, that capacitor, absolutely cream crackered. It's lost a leg. Oh my goodness. Yeah, okay, good. Well, I'm glad they didn't put too much glue on those capacitors. Right, let's get the new ones in. Nice propanol, alcohol, cotton buds, and let's just get some cleaning done. All right, let's install some new caps. Make sure the polarity is correct. The negative is on the left here, and I've even brought just a little bit of 2-part epoxy downstairs as well, so that we can just put a dab of 2-part around the outsides of those. Let's get them soldered in place. Okay, iron is up to temperature, so we'll just there you go, lovely jubbly. Oh, I do love a good bit of soldering. Oh, there we go. Yeah, anyway, there we go. Reckon this'll be beautifully fixed and sounding fantastic when we're done. All right, and we'll just go ahead and crop those legs off there, and we'll mix up a dab of glue, and we'll put just a little dab of glue on those caps just to hold those caps in place, so that if my mate Andy decides he's going to travel somewhere and play his guitar on a big stage with lots of people, and this all needs to go via some courier or some airline, then everything hangs together well, nothing falls apart. Fujicom failure. 22 microfarads, 450 volts, and I suppose you better test it.